Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now, our first story comes from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit, and it's from Snoregasmm, who says, Am I the arsehole for ignoring my family after they excluded me from Christmas again? For context, I, 29 female, have not been on great terms with my family for a long time. My mum has spent most of my life doing everything she can to tear me down, and as of now, I haven't spoken to her in almost 3 years. I have an okay relationship with my brother, 32 male, and I love my dad even though he enables my mum and never stands up for me because he doesn't like to rock the boat. Until a few months ago, I lived pretty close to my parents, but I recently moved across the country and I didn't have any friends or family anywhere near my new home. I love holidays and celebrations, but no one else in my family does. When I was younger, they used to make fun of me or get frustrated when I would try to be festive around Christmas, and eventually I stopped trying. For the past decade, my family hasn't done anything for any holiday, and I've become okay with that. However, my brother, who lives in a different state, got divorced a couple of years ago, and his ex took their house, so my parents bought a duplex in his town so he could live on one side with my 4-year-old niece, and they could live part-time on the other. They still have their house in my hometown, that they live in most of the year. But the last 2 years, my parents have gone up to stay in their side of the duplex for the whole month of December, and they've celebrated Christmas with my brother and niece. Last year, they didn't even tell me that they were going. I found out from my dad's Facebook. It hurt that they decided to celebrate Christmas all together and didn't even tell me, but I shook it off. This year, though, they did it again. My dad called me on Christmas Eve and told me how much fun they were having as a family, and asked me what I was doing for Christmas. I told him I was doing nothing. I don't know anyone in my new city, and my family is all celebrating Christmas without me. He paused like he didn't consider that, then quickly got off the phone. He later sent me a selfie of all of them together saying Merry Christmas from Brother's State. I didn't answer. Actually, I stopped answering at all. My dad and I usually talk 2 to 3 times a week to check in, but he called me once and texted me twice, and I haven't answered since Christmas Eve, 7 days ago. I've also not been posting on my socials, and given that I'm not answering or posting and I'm all alone in a city far away, he really doesn't know if I'm alive or dead. He texted me yesterday saying, please tell me if you're okay, and I haven't responded. I know it's petty, but I'm really hurt that I wasn't even thought of for the family holiday. Even if I was invited, I probably wouldn't have gone just because I don't want to be around my mum. But being left out entirely really hurts, and having them rub it in my face with their selfie is even worse. I've been ignored by my family for my whole life, and I'm tired of trying. I don't know how to say this to my dad, and I don't want to talk to him until I know what to say. Am I the arsehole for maintaining my silence? You're not absolutely not the arsehole in this situation. Everything you said means your feelings are 100% valid. Being excluded from family Christmas celebrations twice and then, getting a photo saying, look how much fun we're having. Of course, that's going to be hurtful when you yourself love these celebrations so much. And then your dad calling to ask what you're doing for Christmas while literally celebrating with the rest of the family is either just completely oblivious or just cruel, one or the other. But I do ask, is the silent treatment actually going to help anything? The only vibes it was giving off as I was reading it is your dad thinking, maybe something really bad has happened to you. Your dad sounds like you was explaining the brother early on in the story, a classic conflict avoider. Making no excuses for it, don't get me wrong, but that's what it sounds like, avoiding have this conflict. Don't want to rock the boat like you said with your mum. For me, it's one of these ones where I would let him know exactly how you're feeling, when you're comfortable to do so, that, you love your dad, but being excluded from family Christmas twice where you're sending photos of the celebration really fucking hurts. I mean, come on now. And I'm actually considering if I want a relationship with you guys going forward for the way that you're treating me. Because I think you need to ask yourself, what do you really want going forward out of this? When they've already shown you their priorities in some ways. And that sounds really fucking harsh to say, but It's just kind of the way I feel about it. But social justice says to OP, I think we might have the same family. I'm the black sheep and it saddened me for years. I tried to be a part of the family, calling, sending presents and postcards, to no avail. I just wanted to be loved and accepted. When one of my brothers passed away, my dad called me a week after his funeral and said, I thought you might want to know. This is when I knew I'd never be a part of this family. I decided to move on without them and live my life to the fullest. If they called, great, and if not, great. It was like a huge burden was lifted off my shoulders. The black cloud that followed me disappeared. They are toxic and dysfunctional. Mum has a mean streak and dad is spineless, allowing her cruelty. There are some mums, such as mine, that only honor the boys and neglects the girls in the family. You don't need this shit. Move on without them. Let the pain go. It may take some therapy to heal. You've been traumatized your whole life. Focus on healing you. Focus on the life you envisioned for yourself. Love and celebrate you. You are special. You are strong to endure such crap. I know the road you are on. The road less traveled, and it is a road full of adventure, twists and turns, personal growth and self-love. Celebrate Christmas. Put up a tree. Decorate, put on some music, invite people over, or just relax and enjoy the atmosphere you created. No Use says, I think you should do what helps you here the most. It is clear that your family has treated you badly, and there isn't any context for this treatment. I haven't seen so many of these examples now on here, and haven't seen families do this for no reason. I'm not surprised by it. If you think it will keep the police from dropping in for a wellness check, you can send in one final, I'm fine, but this is my last contact. I'm done trying to find love and care from a family that has none, and that includes you, since you are a willing part of cutting me out of the family events. Goodbye and good luck with your life. Or you can do nothing. He is much to blame as the others in your family. I'd consider going no contact. It's time to build your own life and family and friend connections. I would strongly suggest therapy first. You're going to need to heal from the harm others have done to you. Then for holidays, you might start with volunteering during the holidays. Decorate for Christmas, buy yourself a nice gift, or travel somewhere cool and volunteer on Christmas Day for people in the hospital or homeless shelter or a church, etc. Give shape to your holidays this way. Make friends by taking classes at your workplace in volunteer spaces. You matter and you deserve to find family out there. That you make yourself. And one more comment from Humoresque8 who says not the arsehole, then adds a quote saying, if you're silent about your pain, they kill you and say you enjoyed it, which was from Zora Neale Hurston, and says don't assume that your dad recognizes 1, that you're hurt, and 2, why you're hurt, whether your dad was being an arsehole or just tone deaf. Tell him what he did. Tell him how you didn't appreciate it and that it hurt you. His answer can determine how you proceed in maintaining a relationship with him. Tell him that you'll be limiting contact until you decide if you'd even like to continue contact. Then go radio silent while you get a therapist to help you unpack your feelings so that you can build a solid chosen family in your new city. Hope your year is much happier and healthier. Absolutely amazing comments there, especially the first one. I really love that, especially because, you know, they've been through a similar thing in their past, found themselves, built themselves up, and just lived the way they wanted to, and their own chosen family, if you like. But 10.5 months later, OP did come in with an update and says, I didn't think my post from last year was that interesting, but a surprising number of people have asked me for an update, so here it is. After a couple of weeks of radio silence, I followed some good advice from my original post and texted my dad to tell him it hurt my feelings that they left me out. He half apologized and life went on. A lot of people pointed out that while my family was toxic, me ignoring my dad was also pretty toxic, and they were right. My family is super passive aggressive, and that is the only way I'd ever learn to handle conflict. And to answer some more comments, I've been in therapy for about 6 years, and after Christmas I started working with my therapist on how to do healthier confrontation. It's still not something I'm super comfy with, but I'm getting better. I've also made a good number of friends in my new city, and I'm doing pretty well, all things considered. With my family, at the end of the day, nothing has changed. They didn't really acknowledge my 30th birthday in spring, and most recently when I invited my dad to my grad school graduation next year, he told me that he couldn't commit to it right now, because he's waiting to see if something that he'd rather do comes up. My brother said he'd come, but he's already gone from a yes to a maybe, so I don't have high hopes. The good news is that it finally hurts less because I have more or less given up on having a real relationship with them. I'm never going to be loved or cared about by them the way I want to be. I've come to accept that, and now I have no plans for Christmas this year. But it's okay. My family sucks, but I'm really lucky in my friends, and I'm grateful for that. Quat says, you're ignoring them is only toxic if you're doing it as a punishment. If you're doing it for self-preservation, it's wise. Talk with your therapist about this. Opie says, if I'm being honest, it was more or less 50-50 self-preservation and punishment. It is something I've worked on in therapy since last Christmas though. Grace quotes saying, he told me that he couldn't commit right now because he's waiting to see if something he'd rather do comes up. And then says, sweet baby pickles. And Opie replies saying, to be fair, I'm paraphrasing there. That wasn't verbatim. His reasoning was more like, well, XYZ might happen or ABC might happen around that time. Or we're going on vacation at some point too, so I have to factor that in. Still basically the same thing, but less blunt. Commenter says, this is a sad update. So nothing has changed and you're still sad about it. Shake my head. You need to cut those fuckers off already. Opie says, unfortunately for those of us with feelings, it's not that fast and easy to just get over something like this. There is a lot of grief to navigate when it comes to accepting the loss of a family, even if what I'm grieving is just an idea. The update is that nothing has changed with my family, but that I'm finally okay with it, and I'm moving on. That's about as good as it gets. Not sure what else you want. The Wallio says, if you have available time, may I recommend volunteering for a local charity related to Christmas. There are a lot of them that do toy shops, food for families, etc., where you might find a lot of joy if you love Christmas, and it could be a great way to meet new people you have something in common with. Opie says, I'm not sure if I have time this year because I'm in the trenches of my grad program, but this is an excellent idea, and if I can't do it this year, I'll look into it in the future. And that was with some of the comments. It is a sad update in some ways, and there's some positives there at the same time for me that she recognizes the toxicity that's going on here. She's in therapy, she's making friends, she's working on herself to some points, but she's also like almost leaving little crumbs of hope out for her family who just still are not showing up. I mean, her dad's response to her graduation, I was just shaking my head thinking, you fucking idiot. And I totally get where she's coming from when she's saying, you know, grieving the family that she deserved but never got. And I really hope that one day Opie's able to take that full step back from her family and recognize that they don't deserve her. But I'm totally with her at the moment in that, you know, healthy boundary at the minute is lowering her expectations around this because they're not going to commit for her, are they? Which is incredibly sad in the end. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from Psychological Half 888 from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit, and it says, Am I the arsehole here for wanting my husband to retire, even though our adult children still rely on us financially? My husband and I are in our 60s and have been planning to retire soon. However, my husband now wants to delay retirement because our 2 adult children still depend on us. Our son, 28, doesn't work right now. He says it's very difficult to find a job in his field, and he doesn't want to take anything outside of it. Because of that, we currently pay his rent, food, and all of his bills. Our daughter, 25, lives with us and works part-time. She says it's hard to find a full-time position in what she studied, so we cover most of her expenses too. My husband says they both still need a lot of help that we wouldn't be able to provide if he retires. One of his main concerns is that their cars are getting old and that we'll need to buy them new ones soon. We bought their current cars and paid for their education. I feel at this point, our kids need to learn to fend for themselves. If they need new cars, they can make payments like everyone else. I want to be able to travel and enjoy life with my husband before we're too old to do so. So, am I the arsehole for wanting my husband to retire, even though our adult children still rely on us? Edit, thanks so much for your feedback. I've read through your comments and take them to heart. Hearing so many perspectives helped open up a meaningful conversation between my husband and me. He's been listening, reflecting, and seems to be seeing the light, which gives me hope we're moving toward a healthier balance, both for our kids and for our retirement dreams. For me, I think there's a huge difference between, helping out your kids, even if they are adults, and enabling. And I think it looks like, or has been, crossing into that field for quite some time. I mean, what, your 28-year-old won't take jobs outside of his field, was it? Whilst you're paying for everything? You know, that sounds like a pretty luxury place to be in. I remember my first job. I'm not saying everyone should have had a job like me, by the way, but my first job was putting security tags on clothes. But it just kind of feels like they're in a comfortable position right now and they don't have to do anything, so they're not going to, and they're just going to see what comes along kind of thing. Whereas, you know, if you tell them that I'm going to be retiring soon, it might put a little fire under their ass, if you like. But Grey Blue says, sounds like your kids will work your husband into the grave. You might want to discuss that with him. Time for the kids to move out. Melissa says, both of those adult kids have no motivation to do anything for themselves because you're paying for everything. Time to cut the cord. No more paying for rent or bills or cars, period. Put them on notice that it's time for the little birdies to fly out on their own. The younger one can still live at home, for now, but she's responsible for all her own expenses and bills. It was your job to raise your kids. It is not your job to continually assist them financially because they're too lazy or too good for a job outside of their chosen field. You're not the arsehole, but those kids sure are for taking advantage of both of you. Go travel and have fun with your husband. Once the kids know they aren't being handed everything on a silver platter, watch how fast they become self-sufficient. Edited to add, I'm loving the commenters who say they love having their kids living with them when they are paying their own way and contributing. That can absolutely work, and that's how it should be. Multi-generational homes work when everyone is contributing. Kitty Pat Kitty Cat says, living at home can work if everyone pulls their weight. We have one adult child, pays 1/3 of the bills except groceries. Lizzie says, not the arsehole, absolutely wild that you two are funding your 28-year-old's life. You guys need to cut that out. Your son needs to get over not being able to find a job in his field and find a damn job, period. Nobody says their daughter too. Added, it sounds like either your husband doesn't want to retire or is overextending his job as a provider. You have a very valid point about retiring where you can still do things. What are they going to do if your husband ends up being forced to retire by bad health? You need to keep talking or get a referee to help the two of you come to an agreement. The OP does come in with an update and says, I wanted to give a quick update and thank everyone again for the honest advice and tough love. My husband and I have continued to talk things through. And he finally seems to understand that continuing to fully support our adult kids isn't sustainable, for them or for us. We've decided to start cutting back our financial help gradually, reducing what we cover each month until our son and daughter are each responsible for most, if not all, of their own expenses. We're planning to talk to our son next week to set expectations and help him make a realistic plan. It's not easy, but we both feel more at peace knowing we're moving in a direction that will help everyone grow and hopefully let us enjoy the retirement we've worked so hard for. Thank you again to everyone who took the time to comment. Your input really helped us take the first step towards change. And a top commenter said on this one, for the 28-year-old, I work at a staffing agency and can say recruiters aren't going to look highly upon a large gap in employment if his only explanation is he couldn't find a job in his field. He should try and find something relevant with some applicable skills, and if he does that for a while, they'll probably make it a lot easier for him to find a job in his field. You may not want to fully cut him off, but he's almost 30 and can't pay any of his bills. He should at least be required to get a job and cover at least the majority of his bills. 25-year-old, more understandable. At least lives at home and is doing something, but would also benefit with at least finding something full-time with applicable skills so she can save up to move out. And there was lots of comments on the back of this one, some mixed as well, saying, you know, it's difficult out there at the moment, but also saying that they do need to start living their own lives. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's have another story. Now, I just want to give a trigger warning before we do get into this story. There is talk of miscarriages within the story, so if you do want to skip it, please feel free to do so. Well, it'll be the last story of this video. But just throwing that warning out there. Now let's get started. Our next story comes from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit from LisaoftheRoses and says, am I the arsehole for doing a group Halloween costume with my stepdaughters that their mother doesn't approve of? I, 35 female, am the stepmother to two lovely 10-year-old twin girls who I adore. I've been married to their father, 38 male, for 5 years, and we dated for 2 years before that. I consider myself very close to them, and we always have fun whenever they stay with me and their father. They recently asked what kind of movies I watched when I was their age, so it led to me digging out some old classics, most notably The Parent Trap. Of all the older movies I showed them, this one was their favourite. I think they got a kick out of seeing a movie about twins. They even delighted in the fact that, in their opinion, I look like Meredith Blake. It's the hair. I think no way am I as gorgeous as Elaine Hendricks. It's become an inside joke of us, with me often putting on a voice and acting the part while they fall into hysterical giggles. My husband has even gotten into it and playing the clueless Nick when we get into this playful spirit. The girls are staying with us for Halloween. They alternate who has them on holidays, and whoever has them for Halloween is in charge of the costume. The girls asked if I would do a group costume with them, and I was touched and told them of course, and asked them what they wanted to do. I should have seen it coming. They wanted to do The Parent Trap, with them as the girls and me as Meredith. I found it harmless and agreed. My husband found it funny and said he'd even dress as Nick then. I got a call from their mother today telling me she'd heard of the costume and she didn't approve, that she felt it wasn't appropriate. I at first was touched and assumed she was worried about their stepmother being portrayed as a wicked gold digger, and told her it was fine, it was just an inside joke that had occurred that sparked this. This wasn't the issue. She didn't think it was appropriate for me to do a group costume with her daughters at all, and that it was clearly lazy, and I was forcing it, as why else would her daughters want to do a costume from an old movie? I got rather upset here, but I tried to stay calm on the phone and told her she might not approve, but it was harmless, and I'd been in the girl's life for 7 years at this point. My husband, who was in the room during the call, could see I was getting upset, so took the phone off me and began to get into it with his ex-wife, telling her that she could have all the issues she wanted, but it was an entirely proper costume for their age, and it had been the girls who suggested it, reminding her it was up to him what they dressed as this year, and he had approved of it. I got him to calm down as he was getting upset, and the call ended rather tersely. I just feel awful about this whole thing, and I wonder if I should just bow out of matching the girls in costume, if it will prevent further problems. I just know this will be a bigger thing down the line. I thought it was a lovely picture that you painted with your story, and it just shows how comfortable the girls are with you. And all I'm seeing from this is like some sort of jealousy, or bio mum is feeling threatened by how close you are with her daughters. And which, look, I would get some people would be like that. We've seen it time and time again, but still doesn't make it right. The girls initiated it, the dad approved it, and it's happening during his time, so she doesn't get really a say here, right? And I think if you don't do it now, what will that say to the girls? You'll be backing off from this real special moment that they chose, which I think would just be really confusing and really sad for them at the same time. So I'd say absolutely don't back down in this situation. There's nothing wrong with those costumes. But the commenter says, not the arsehole. The girl's mother isn't upset about the costume. She's upset that her daughters love you enough to want to do a group costume with you. This is 100% about her own jealousy and insecurity. Don't back down. The girls asked you, and it would hurt them if you pulled out now because their mum threw a fit. Opie says, I really don't want to back down. It means a lot to me that the girls asked me. I just worry that this could cause worse tension, which would be bad for the girls. I also hate that she feels jealous and insecure, as I think you're right here. I love the girls like they're my own, but I will never replace their mother. Commenter says, what do you value more? Making your husband's ex-wife happy, or making the two little girls you helped raise happy and creating an awesome memory with them? Opie replies saying, obviously making them happy. It's not about making her happy exactly. It's more concern if I don't concede on this, it'll make things harder for the girls in the long term. Cherry Coloured says, not the arsehole, but I'm curious. When you say old movie, do you mean the actually old one, or the one with Lindsay Lohan? Because if I were calling the latter movie old, I'm going to start shriveling up. Opie replies saying, the 1998 movie with Lindsay Lohan, I'm afraid. Trust me, I know how you feel, but to them, it's old. Ditto Head Forever says, you're not the arsehole, but I'm trying to wrap my head around the fact that the 1998 version of The Parent Trap is an old movie. I wonder what the girls would think of the original version. Sounds like their mum is jealous of your relationship and is actively trying to negatively impact it. Sad, because she should be glad her daughters have a loving, involved stepmom. Opie says, oh, trust me, I just like it being called that too. But to 10-year-old girls, It's old. This will age well says, so her only objection is that she thinks it's inappropriate. When considering what's appropriate behavior and what's not, I am very firmly in the camp of whatever makes you happy and harms no one else. The girls would be happy, you would be happy, the dad would be happy. The costumes are not offensive, the girl's mother is not being harmed in any way by what the girls wear. Go ahead and do it. Not the arsehole. But a month later, OP did come in with an update and says, well, Halloween is officially over, and I thought I'd give an update before I forgot. Firstly, I've seen a lot of people wondering if I was the reason my husband and his ex split up, and I'd like to clear the air right now. No, they split up when the girls were 2. I came into the picture a year later. Things came to a bit of a head on one of the girls' visits before Halloween. I pulled their mother aside to talk about Halloween. I told her that I understood she might have mixed feelings about this, but the girls wanted it and I didn't want to let them down. Besides, it was their father's holiday and he was in charge of the costume as per their agreement for whoever had them on Halloween. I asked her if there was anything I could do to make this more tolerable for her, as this wasn't doing the girls any favors. She ended up telling me no, that there was nothing I could do as she didn't approve it at all, as it wasn't appropriate for me to do a group costume with them, as I'm only their stepmother. Even if I'd been in their life for 7 years at this point. She suggested I only wanted to do this in the first place because I'm using her daughters as a filler, as I've been unable to have my own children. This got to me. I've had 3 miscarriages over my marriage, one of which the girls know, and by extension their mother, as we thought I was past the danger point when we told them. I told her she was being ridiculous, and I wasn't going to talk about this with her anymore. After the girls left, I broke down crying a little, as having my miscarriages thrown in my face like that hurt, and the implication that I only wanted to be close to the girls because I couldn't have my own children was so wrong. When my husband found out what she had said to me, he ended up calling his ex, asking her where she got off being so cruel. He also made it clear that she is not going to call me anymore and all contact is to go through him. We got the costumes ready and we were prepared for Halloween. She dropped the girls off and informed us that one of the girls had a cold and she didn't want them out in the cold as it'd make it worse, and seemed kind of pleased like this would put an end to our plans. When she left, they tried to insist that they were okay to go out, even though they were sick, but we weren't about to risk making them more ill, so my husband came up with another plan. We all got dressed in our costumes, of course. We ordered pizza and watched movies. All 4 of us greeted any trick-or-treaters so our costumes could be seen, and we also filled a tub with water and had a bobbing for apples competition. It wasn't the night we had planned originally, but all in all, it was an enjoyable one despite the little hitch. That's raising kids though. Thank you everyone for all your feedback. I hope you all had a wonderful Halloween. I didn't to add additional information. A few people have been worried about the fact we bobbed for apples. Girls love bobbing for apples on Halloween as we couldn't trick or treat, so we took precautions to ensure that they could at least do one Halloween thing they enjoyed. We made sure the water wasn't cold with towels on hand to dry off right away, and the one who was sick went last and the water was poured out afterwards to ensure the chance of the cold spreading about was limited. Commodore said to OP, I'm really sorry for what you've been through with the miscarriages. That's something no one should ever bring up, especially to intentionally hurt you. You handled this the best way you could, and it speaks volumes about who you are as a person and as a step-parent. These girls wanted to do a group costume with you. Their mum is feeling jealous. That's her problem. Your husband is right that all communication between yourself and their mother should happen through your husband moving forward. If she calls, you shouldn't answer. If she texts, just forward to him and don't respond. Nortex says, I assume the ex was a witch for Halloween, same as the other 364 days a year. What an awful person to throw such a sensitive subject into someone's face. It was cruel and deliberate and speaks volumes about her jealousy and insecurity. You handled it with grace and maturity, which she seems to utterly lack. OP, you've got a wonderful husband who has your back. Please do put the kibosh on her communication with you. And I always do wonder on the back of stories like that, you know, what mum would be talking about in the background about OP, etc., etc. But, you know, OP can't control that in the end. But I think the no contact thing was absolutely the right thing to do in the end of this story. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being involved. Truly, it's absolutely amazing. And don't forget, at the very end of the video, there'll be a couple of playlists there that you can click on that will automatically scroll through all those videos for you. There's a bloody lot of them. Can't believe some of you have said that you've listened to them all. Gee bloody whiz. But anyway, just a huge thank you, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Much love.
Wake up, get up, stretch my legs, eat some breakfast, milk and eggs, brush my teeth up, wash my face, throw my clothes on, start my day. Wake up, I can smell the smoke from the bacon. Let's go, see the sun shining from the windows. Okay, I know that today'll be a good day. Okay, I know that today'll be a good day.